just give it a few minutes to see who wants to join us today while we cook mushroom masala. Shireen and JD. Hello, this is JD and Shireen back. Moji Masala, and Shireen is going to be taking you through today. And what are we making today?
So today we are doing some spiced mushrooms, quick spiced mushrooms. Mushrooms are one of my favorite vegetables. I love them. My husband and daughter don't, so I tend not to make it.
That's true.
And my daughter used to love them. I don't know what happened. I think my husband might have been brainwashed.
I never liked them.
It's one of the three.
And I did not brainwash her.
Dislikes 3 foods. Mushrooms are one of them. So I used to not make them because I was like, they don't eat them. And then I realized I can eat a pound of mushrooms on my own. So I do not need to worry about competing or sharing with this one. So I started making it. And that's why I chose it today, because I'm actually super craving it. And I haven't had it in a while. Not really since the summer. And this is a great dish because it's very fast. It's, once you chop it all up in something and get it going on the stove, it's like 10 minutes. It's so flavorful. This one doesn't require an onion, so it's just like a little garlic, a little tomato, chop the mushrooms, add the spices, and you're done. So,
what's the name of the dish we're making today?
So this is interesting. I'm still trying to do a lot more research on it. Mushrooms, I don't really think we're ever indigenous to India, but it is a pretty popular dish amongst, when a home cooked meal will have mushrooms. So there's no like very traditional word for mushrooms, so we just call them mushrooms. It's literally by the way we grew up eating it was this blend here, which is cumin, coriander, my mom's super special garam masala, and you can see that little bit goes a long way for this pound of mushrooms here. Turmeric, mostly for color, and a little bit of that like bitterness, and then just a little bit of red chili. Mushrooms are pretty spongy, as you know, pretty absorbent. That's also why I love this dish. It doesn't take much to get all that flavor in. That's why it just sautés up so quickly, releases a lot of its natural water to really make a nice basically curry. And as far as mushrooms, I'm using white button mushrooms here. Cremini is my absolute favorite. I just love the flavor in general. They work well for this dish. They absorb well. I love shiitakes and all other kinds of mushrooms, but I find for this dish, they don't absorb the spices easily. So it kind of sits a little bit on the top, and I don't feel like you get the full kind of like blended flavor. So I go with the white button or the cremini. And just a quick little thing. The tips for the white mushroom, or the stems rather, they're a little hard, especially this part being so spongy. So I tend to just do that and then chop it like this. And that's it. It takes like 5 minutes to chop a pound of mushrooms, or you can get them sliced, and if they have the stems, no big deal. So that's really it. I know it's the middle of a work day, so we were just going to get to it. I wish you could already smell. I'm already smelling the spices and the garlic, so I'm hungry. Haven't had lunch yet. So let's move on over to the stove.
So, Shireen,
yes.
Why don't we talk a little bit about Moji Masala and how basically in this pack of our Moji Masala mushroom, this is the equivalent.
Yeah, so this is what's in here. It's a really good point. I didn't actually show. As you know, we're single serve packets, 1 packet, 1 dish. So this packet has this in it. And
it's pre-measured.
It's pre-measured to correspond with 1 pound of mushrooms. This is 1 chopped tomato and 3 garlic cloves, 3 fresh garlic cloves. And this is literally all you need to make this happen. I've already pre-measured it in here. So we're going to use this. Just using a wide-based pan here. Heated it up. So, we measure about 2 to 3 tablespoons of oil. You can use, if you want to cook it on medium heat, this one can be cooked on medium heat rather, so you can use olive oil. Tend not to use olive oil because it does burn easily. Our go-to oil for high heat cooking is sunflower oil. But for a lot of the veggies, you know, the softer veggies, you know, feel free to use olive oil, but then just don't use the higher heat. So because I'm using sunflower, I'm doing a medium-high heat. And I'm just gonna start. So basically what we're doing here is, like, if you've been following our other videos, the main thing that you do for all our dishes is you first have to create the, effectively a masala paste or a masala base, which is usually, you know, onion at a minimum, tomato, maybe some fresh garlic, and you sort of saute and blend that and add the spices to that. Keep your water on hand to kind of get a paste going. And then you add your vegetable, your meat, you know, whatever it is you may be cooking. So we're just starting with the fresh garlic. So it's, you know, about a minute, so it's fragrant, nothing different than probably how you're used to. You can smell that right away. It's pretty high heat, so it's already browning. Don't want to overcook that. It can get a little bit bitter. Now I'm just going to go ahead and add the chopped tomato.
Hey, Coach Chan, we're making mushroom masala today.
Ooh, that nice. So, where is it? Turn me up like that. There's oil in it, sorry. So, that's the water sparking. This tomato had a lot of water, which I like. It helps kind of cook it up a bit, but it is a little messy, a little sparky. So the tomato, we've shown this in other recipes, but if you missed those, I just really want to show it again. The key to getting the base right and knowing when to add the spices to this is when your tomato is well cooked, it's softened, the waters come out, and the oil starts to separate a little bit. I can't do it right this second, but if you bring the iPad over, I can try to fix it. Okay, so I'm gonna hold the phone. Somebody's not happy about her current TV time. So this process of cooking down the tomato takes about 3 to 4 minutes. I have a gas stove here, so it tends to cook down pretty quickly. If you have an electric, you might have to add a minute or so, or turn up the heat a little bit. But so you see here, oh, sorry. So this tomato had a lot of water, so I'm getting a lot of that sizzle and spark. So this is cooking down pretty. I'm going to zoom in on a little bit. You really want it soft, so if you kind of touch it with your spoon and some bits are still hard, you just kind of keep sauteing it around. But you can see the oil is starting to separate there. That's kind of what you want, but you want to make sure that your that your tomato has fully softened and cooked down. And I keep a cup of water handy. Right now I'm okay. I put a good amount of oil. Nothing's drying up, but if you start to see your pan browning on the edges, or you know, you just do little splashes of water. But like this tomato had a lot of, kind of a good amount of liquid, so that way the oil is keeping things moist here, not too dry. So it is starting to brown a bit. I'm going to do a splash. Just going to do a splash of water here. I keep this at the side, and kind of for all my cooking. And just here you can see it's browning. Not too much. You're not trying to create like a sauce. You're just trying to make sure your pan doesn't burn and keep your base moist as you cook it. So we're pretty much there. That was pretty quick. I don't know, it felt like less than 4 minutes. So now that you have kind of a nice wet tomato garlic base, to that you're gonna add, and I'm sort of zooming in, JD, on how the oil is separating out a little bit and the tomato is soft. That's really when you know it's kind of good to go. And I'm taking this whole spice blend.
So here goes in the Moji Masala mushroom spice blend.
Yeah. Very sparky, so be careful. Yeah, so this part it's great. Now you're mixing in your spices. It smells amazing. You know, if it's dry, this is a good time to just be adding little splashes of water. idea is to just get your spices in, get it mixed, well blended. This is a paste, so even, well blended, tomatoey, garlicky, spicy paste. So we tend to use very little red chili in our veggies, just the way I grew up. When I say we, I just mean in my family. A lot of flavor, a lot of fresh ground spices, so tons and tons of flavor, and then like a hint of heat. A hint of heat to us might be different than you, but that kind of experience that you should have, in my opinion, with the food is that you taste it, it's really flavorful. So you can't necessarily discern garlic or cumin or coriander, but you just have a big wave of flavor, followed by with that kind of a sort of a little bit of a heat ending. And so for some people that might be a quarter teaspoon of the mushroom, for some people it might be a half a teaspoon. So it's just, but that, I feel like that's the experience. And I think there's a sort of some people believe Indian food's just really hot, and that's what it's kind of known for. It's hot if you didn't grow up eating red chilies because you weren't acclimated to it. But people who grow up eating it, they don't experience it as like super hot typically. Just nice and spicy. You kind of got to know how to work your way up. That's the other thing. You can really work your way up to a palate that can handle more heat as you kind of eat more and more spicy food. Okay, and this looks really good. So I'm going to add my mushrooms to this. I always look at this and think, oh my god, there's so much mushrooms and so little, like kind of so little of the paste. But as you know, mushrooms are like spinach. They like half disappear because there's so much water in them. And that water is really going to create a nice curry. So I love that part. It's just so easy. I really should be turning the fan on at this point, but I'm not going to do it because I don't want to ruin the listener experience. So, I'm still on medium-high heat. I'm really just coating the mushrooms. Just like if you've done the cauliflower with us or on your own, that can be a little harder. Cauliflower is hard. It doesn't absorb as easily. It takes a while to get it well coated. As you can see, this is like boom, it's coated. Like I love this. It is now getting drier. I'm just gonna add a little water till the water of the mushrooms comes out because I don't want to burn the pan, and I want to keep my. If you're trying to really cook these on high heat, so you have to keep that water, like splashes of water going so that you can keep the heat high. The instinct might be like, oh my god, it's drying out, let me turn down the heat. No, splash of water solves the problem until you're ready. So I've already used, so just in these splashes, I've used a cup of water, and you can see how dry the pan is. So the water is starting to come out. These are shrinking pretty quickly. I'm going to heat up even a little more. And all like that sizzling sound is gone. That also tells me like the water's coming out. And maybe you could zoom in a little bit, JD, so they can see now how that curry just naturally forms. You've got your spices, your tomato, your garlic, all in there. The water is coming out of the mushrooms naturally with the high heat and forming this delicious paste. And so the idea is to keep cooking it down, let all the water come up, let your mushrooms get soft, and you're just letting them absorb the spice. That's the point of this sort of constant cooking, I guess. Really, it's like in theory, it's cooked. You could eat this, but a few more minutes of like letting that water come out, letting those spices absorb, makes a difference between it being like, that was pretty good, to like, wow, this is delicious. I taste the flavor like throughout the bite. You don't want that. You take a bite and you taste a little spice, but then all of a sudden you just taste like bland mushroom. So. And just maybe show them again already how much water is coming out here. Natural curry, I love this. Very natural. We call this Russ. Russ is, I guess the equivalent of that is curry. Curry is literally like this liquid base that kind of has all this flavor. So we have a lot of natural, delicious Russ. And like I said, it looked so dry when I put it in. And now you see, like, oh, but I forgot to put my salt, sorry. Which I always do, I do that a lot. So this takes about a spoon of salt. when you adjust your salt, I put in about a spoon. I'll probably need a little more, but don't until it's really cooked down, and then the texture that you want, the curry texture that you want. Don't add more salt till it's like almost done, because then it'll continue to cook down, and the water will continue to evaporate, and it'll be like way too salty. Also, mushrooms do have, I usually say 3/4 of a teaspoon for mushrooms because they're naturally, saltier. So just once you over salt, it's over. So you can always salt at the end. And then a little trick is if you do want to salt a little bit more, kind of put the salt a little bit in the curry base. You could show them here, JD. Like I'd put a little, you could sprinkle it all over, but then, and then bring that to a boil and then blend it in. Then you're kind of like, it's like going to get more even more quickly. You don't have to do that, but it's a nice little trick. And
Hi, Niha.
I'm actually going to try this because I'm feeling like this is looking good.
Anybody any questions on the dish, or anybody want to talk about mushroom masala, moji masala? How's your day going? Indian cooking? Anything?
So this is a really nice flavor. What I'm going to do is just let it evaporate off a little bit. It has like a little bit of a watery taste to it, but the flavor is there. So that says to me, if I just sort of saute it and turn the heat up just a little bit more, let some of that liquid evaporate so that what I'm left with is just all the flavor. And then I think I am good to go. And so this, typically you could eat this with rice, but what I love about this is like, I honestly sometimes eat it with, sometimes I eat it just like a bowl of it with a dollop of yogurt. It's so delicious. Or if you want to make fresh chapatis, it's great. I do that half the time, but half the time, if we have some a tortilla of any kind, just sort of lightly heat that so it's soft, and do like a mushroom wrap. It's so good. And you can make a little chutney or just add a little yogurt to it. It's really delicious. I mean, you won't even feel like, if you're trying to eat less meat, this is a great way to do it. It's just so satisfying. You don't miss meat with dishes like this. That's really it. I think we're good here.
Great. Do you want to show what it looks like plated?
Sure. I'm going to show you I'm going to eat it in a bowl with yogurt.
Okay.
So I'll be right back.
Thanks for joining, everybody. If anybody has any questions, you can also find our spice pack at Moji, M-O-J-I, masala.com. MOJIMASALA.com. And you saw how easy it was to make this dish, and that's the point of Moji Masala, is that you can have a fresh, nutritious, delicious dish that you make, that the recipe is super simplified, and it acts like you've gone to some amazing restaurant or took a trip to India.
So I want to show another little thing that I have everybody. I love the flavor of Greek yogurt. Typically Greek yogurt it's like too thick to really work well, because you're trying to mix in the yogurt. It's not just like necessarily a dollop on top. You kind of blend it in. It doesn't mix well when it's too thick. So, but I like the flavor. I like the richness, the natural kind of richness from being thick. So I just add a little water to my yogurt. Just looking for a clean spoon here. Just added a little water, and I'm just watering it down, and it blends really well because it's so thick. It's still going to maintain its thickness, but it's going to be like just a little bit more malleable, I guess. Like it'll move around a little bit easier. Otherwise, what you happen is you take like you get this big bite of yogurt, but it's too
Corey's
much.
asking what kind of rice would you eat this with?
I'm a little I think to really appreciate the food, I go with two kinds. Either a Thai jasmine. Thai rice is some of the best rice in the world. I mean, it really is delicious. Or an Indian basmati. I just stick to rices, kind of Asian rices in general. I just feel like they're very flavorful. Rice is such a staple in these cultures, so that, it's growing in this part of the world where it grows. It's really delicious. I find it's fine if all you have is some other kind of rice. It's fine. I don't think it's as flavorful, so it just ends up being like a starch as opposed to adding flavor to your dish. But if you want to stick your rice, which I love in the winter, actually.
You opened
Thai
up a whole
jasmine,
Pandora's
Thai
box.
jasmine for sticky,
rice.
and Indian basmati for, just a nice fluffy white rice.
It's a loaded question. And Carla is asking, what's Nora's favorite Indian dish?
These days, you know, it's hard to
Tandoori
pick.
baked
She
chicken.
loves Rogan Josh.
Yeah.
And she loves the wings. I would say those are her two favorites.
That we sell.
Yeah, that we make. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think they're two of her favorites in general. Like,
Yeah.
my mom really introduced her to Rogan Josh.
Yeah.
And she like has only had the real thing. I always say this, so like there's no messing with that dish. And I love that she loves our Moji Masala kind of more adjusted, quicker version. She doesn't taste the difference.
Yeah.
And you know, she used to eat so many veggies, but I don't know what happened. But like she would love this normally, but maybe in a year or so, we'll see.
Nice.
So just gonna do it like that. And that is literally gonna be my lunch, and it's delicious. Enjoy. I hope you try it. If you do, send some pics, let us know. Always email or Instagram us any questions you may have.
Great to see everybody. Again, you can find us at mojimasala.com. These retail for
$4.
Yeah, $4. So for $4, you can have an amazing meal and a little bit of produce that's probably already in your kitchen, already in your fridge. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Have a
See you
great
soon.
day, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.